Hello there, I'm Jack, and I welcome you to Phantom Chamber, a safe space of dread and distress. Feel free to stick around. Hinterkaifeck was a small, secluded village situated in the rolling countryside of Bavaria, Germany, nestled approximately 70 kilometers north of Munich. The area was known for its picturesque landscapes, quaint farming communities, and a way of life rooted in tradition. It was against this tranquil backdrop that the horrifying events of the Hinterkaifeck farm murders unfolded in 1922, forever staining the village's history with an unsolved mystery. The village itself was minuscule, boasting only a handful of homes and farms scattered across the landscape. Hinterkaifeck Farm, owned by the Gruber family, was one such farmstead. The remoteness of the area made it a close-knit community, where neighbors relied on one another for support and companionship. In those times, rural life in Bavaria was characterized by deeply rooted customs and an agrarian economy. The region's economy revolved around farming, with families like the Grubers engaging in the toil of the land to sustain themselves and their community. The farmstead was a microcosm of this traditional way of life, where hard work and the harmony of rural existence formed the fabric of daily existence. However, in the aftermath of the First World War, Germany was grappling with the profound aftermath of a devastating conflict. The country faced immense political and economic challenges, which further exacerbated the social fabric of rural communities like Hinterkaifeck. In the tranquil countryside of Hinterkaifeck, a small Bavarian village, an unthinkable horror unfolded on a chilling night in 1922. The remote and isolated Hinterkaifeck farm, inhabited by the Gruber family, became the scene of a gruesome and unsolved murder mystery that continues to confound investigators and captivate the world's imagination. On that fateful evening, Andreas Gruber, the head of the household, returned home to an eerie silence that was unusual for the bustling farm. The farm's maid, Maria Baumgartner, and the Gruber family members, his wife, Cecilia, their daughter, Victoria, Victoria's two children, Cecilia and Joseph, and their young farmhand Joseph Siegel were nowhere to be found. As the night grew darker, fear began to gnaw at Andreas, and he sensed that something sinister had transpired. The next morning, a neighbor arrived at Hinterkaifeck Farm to find a ghastly sight that would forever etch itself in their memories. In the barn, the lifeless bodies of Andreas, Cecilia, Victoria, and Cecilia Jr. were stacked like morbid pieces in a grotesque puzzle. The horror did not end there. Inside the house, investigators discovered the mutilated remains of young Joseph Siegel and the farm's maid, Maria Baumgartner. The grisly details of the Hinterkaifeck murders were nothing short of nightmarish. The victims had been savagely bludgeoned to death with a pickaxe, the bloody corpses of Andreas, Victoria, and both Cecilias were found buried under a haystack in the barn, while Maria and young baby Joseph were both found murdered in their respective beds. All 6 victims had been bludgeoned to death with a mattock, a type of pickaxe used in farming. Despite multiple investigations over the subsequent decades and several arrests made, no suspect has ever been brought to trial due to lack of conclusive evidence, their bodies bearing the marks of incomprehensible violence. Evidence showed that the younger Cecilia had been alive for several hours after the assault. She had torn her hair out in tufts while lying in the straw. The brutality of the killings was so extreme that the entire nation recoiled in terror, and the authorities launched an extensive investigation into the heart of darkness that had descended upon Hinterkaifeck. As investigators combed through the crime scene, They uncovered perplexing and chilling details. The killer or killers had displayed a sinister familiarity with the farm's layout, as if they had known the family's routines and patterns. Stranger still, they were indications that the murderer had remained on the premises for days after the killings, possibly even living amongst the victims' lifeless bodies, even feeding the livestock. The case took another bewildering turn when it was revealed that a mysterious set of footprints led from the farm to the nearby woods. The tracks appeared to belong to a lone individual, deepening the enigma of who could have committed such an act of unspeakable brutality. Investigators interviewed neighbors, acquaintances, and anyone remotely connected to the Gruber family, but the web of suspicion only grew more tangled. Rumors and theories abounded, implicating everyone from wandering strangers to rejected suitors, and even potential motives rooted in family disputes. Despite the massive effort, the Hinterkaifeck farm murders remained unsolved. The absence of any concrete evidence and the passage of time only deepened the shroud of mystery surrounding the case. Theories emerged, each weaving its own version of the truth, but none provided a definitive answer to the question that haunted the nation. Who committed these heinous acts? And what could have possibly driven them to commit such a monstrous crime? As the decades passed, the Hinterkaifeck murders became a chilling legend, haunting the collective memory of Bavarian villagers and enthusiasts of true crime alike. Amateur sleuths and seasoned investigators revisited the case, hoping to unlock its secrets, but the answers remained elusive, buried within the annals of history. In 2007, a German forensic academy had students investigate the case using modern techniques, but they determined that the absolutely horrendous techniques used by investigators of the time, as well as the fact that the crime scene had been contaminated by curious townspeople and poor records made, it virtually impossible to come to a conclusive answer, although the students were able to narrow down the list of suspects to just one name. They never released that name out of respect for the person's living relatives. Still, to this day, the farm murders remain unsolved.